Hamas is drawing a hard line on Gaza. Senior leader Khalid Mashal has told international audiences this week that the group will not disarm or accept foreign control, essentially pushing back against repeated demands from the U.S. and Israel. He's framed this as a matter of resistance under occupation, while calling for aid and reconstruction to continue, but only under the Palestinian Authority. Now, Mashal's comments underline the limits of current ceasefire talks because while billions in humanitarian aid are flowing into Gaza, the terror group is making it clear that it won't give up its weapons or let outsiders dictate governance. And for Washington and Jerusalem, this sets up another tense chapter in an already fragile truce. So I'd like to turn now to international affairs analyst Dan Perry. This has been the fundamental issue since the very beginning. Hamas refusing to disarm, now once again explicitly stating that. What does this mean for the U.S. administration, for Trump?
Trump and everyone else who cares have a very difficult choice. Do you make good on the implied threat to not allow any reconstruction to begin in Gaza and to leave 2 million people living in hovels and ruins and tents during the winter and beyond because Hamas won't disarm? There's a logic to doing just that, but it's incredibly cruel. And Hamas is betting that everyone will just break and allow it to happen, and maybe allow it to happen through some in-between solution where they store their weapons but don't give them up. And I don't think that's going to go down well in Israel, and I doubt Trump can really accept that, given that, I mean, just a few weeks ago in Davos, he was saying they either disarm or they'll be destroyed. Now,
right, well, who will destroy them? That is, of course, the question.
To me, like Israel would get the green light to resume the war, but this time able to deliver a coup de grace because there's no longer hostages held by Hamas. That said, though, Israel didn't really go lightly, even with the hostages. Just recently, we had a security official suggesting that the death toll that a lot of us were skeptical about, of 70,000 people killed, perhaps half civilians, might have been true. And you look at Gaza, it's in ruins. So the idea of resuming the war and this time doing it better and getting rid of Hamas that way, not that appealing, and it will not be popular in Israel during an election cycle. So this is complicated, and it raises the question, what else can be done? And I mean, I've mused that maybe you start to allow the population out of that half of Gaza that is run by Hamas still, allow them into the Israeli half in the perimeter and build them better towns there, maybe in Rafah specifically, maybe allow them to leave Gaza and organize an exit plan for whoever can get out, which I know sounds like ethnic cleansing, but it might be better than living under the boot of Hamas.
Well, I mean, you have Egypt, which is not going to easily accept that. I mean, that has obviously been a core security concern for the state of Egypt.
There might be options. And again, I'm not in love with this idea, but to keep things as they are and have 2 million people living upon the ruins is also not a great idea. So Hamas is betting that letting them stay is going to be the less bad option. Basically, Hamas thinks they won. And I would say that the world hasn't done enough to make clear to Hamas and to the Palestinian people that they have a choice, which is continued misery, unspeakably so, or to compel Hamas through political pressure of every conceivable kind to indeed disarm, at least in Gaza.
Obviously, you know, the idea of this international stabilization force has been up in the air for months now. The main issue on the ground was that no nation wants to come into the Gaza Strip and be responsible for peace enforcing, right? They want to be responsible for peacekeeping. But of course, the question again is how you even get to that point if Hamas is refusing to disarm and accept the leadership of any other Palestinian entity. Obviously, the Palestinian Authority is being mentioned here, but I think there is a true understanding that Hamas's control on the ground is just getting stronger every day as the ceasefire continues.
Sure. Well, I think Hamas, their position probably is will allow this technocratic government to come in, which, by the way, is another self-deception by Israel, because it's essentially indirectly the Palestinian Authority, but Netanyahu can't accept that obvious truth, and so we call it the technocratic government. Hamas agrees to that as long as they can be in the background, waiting in the wings, as an armed militia that really, really pulls the strings, the way Hezbollah did for many decades in Lebanon. And that cannot be allowed. That's not an easy thing for Israel to accept after all the costs of the war. It would be a terrible thing for the Palestinians to have to endure. I would like to see more pressure being brought to bear on Qatar and Egypt, on Turkey and on the UAE and on Saudi Arabia, that they should take the lead in pressuring Hamas and really making clear to the Palestinians. And I want to see the resulting polls afterward that show that 90% would rather have Hamas disarm and receive $100 billion in reconstruction funds and get on with their lives.
You know, I think there's just so many political questions as to what this means for the future of the state of Israel and how this Israeli government is going to move forward in the face of the very clear understanding now that Hamas has no intention to disarm.